Hey, what's going on, guys? To recap, this is the second video in a series of what will be three videos ultimately, where I kind of go over this new trilogy that The Weeknd has been working on. In this video specifically, I'll be going over Down FM, my thoughts on the album. Whenever the third album comes out, of course, I will get into that one. But in the meantime, I'm gonna happily go through this album, which features a total of technically 16 tracks. About two or three of them are interludes, but of course I will offer my thoughts on those. This album dropped January of 2022, this month, which I consider this album a very high note to start the year off on. Um, Jumping into the first track of the album, Down FM, uh, song titled Down FM, features a very interesting chord progression. The words I would use to describe the tonality of this track, magical, otherworldly, really cool. I would consider this a beautiful intro to the album, and it definitely helps the listener differentiate this album from the album previous to it, Part One, After Hours. It feels like a radio show from a lost time. It feels like it's really far away, but at the same time, it's close to you. It feels interstellar and at the same time familiar. Jim Carrey's appearance on this track was awesome. I couldn't even recognize it on first listen. I didn't realize that that was Jim Carrey that I was listening to. And his voice, he kind of goes through like a monologue of sorts. It brings a sense of fuzzy familiarity to this the album intro. Really nice. Track number two, Gasoline. This track has grown on me a lot, and I've heard that from other listeners of the album as well. The song features really blippy synths, wild effects thrown on The Weeknd's vocals, lots of chopped up vocal samples with lots of delay, unique panning. It keeps the listener engaged. There's a lot of movement in this song. Um, it almost sounds like The Weeknd is singing in this kind of accent, which I was struggling to identify. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I was picking that up a lot. I would say unconventional vocal delivery by his standards, especially when you compare that to his usual vocal delivery that I'm sure listeners are used to by now. And you hear these different vocals primarily on the verses of the song. On the hook of the song, you get the usual vocal delivery from The Weeknd. So it's a cool contrast going on there. The instrumental itself, upbeat synth pop drums, and it's a tune with what I consider a subdued melody. This song is heavy on the 80s synthwave influence, and I'm a big fan of that. Track number three, How Do I Make You Love Me? This song features awesome synth stabs and arpeggios, all sorts of movement in the instrumental itself. High energy, and this song is very danceable also. I love the saws that build up to the chorus. Almost like in EDM terms, you could call it the pre-drop, a brief build-up of sorts. It's very clean. The groove of this song is infectious as well. I genuinely enjoy the melodies in the song, the melodies we hear in the instrumental, the melodies we hear sung by The Weeknd. They all come together very well. And on that note, the melodies themselves are simple, but they're also extremely catchy. It makes this song more like you want to listen to it more and more and more. The Weeknd's vocals, I can't give enough praise. I feel like he's come a long way as a vocalist. And so lots of solid vocals from him thus far on the album. And also noteworthy, there's a seamless transition from this song to the next one. And that's not the first time we get a hint of that on this album. It kind of fits thematically, so it makes a lot of sense. Bleeds right into track number four, entitled Take My Breath. While the transition is very seamless, it feels like this song sneaks up on you because of that. It's very minimal. The instrumental itself is minimal, but there's a beautiful approach taken to the production. Kudos to the producers that worked on this song. The intro feels like you're being sucked into a portal that's taking you to some other kind of dimension. Crazy movements going on in the song itself. There's all sorts of offset panning and even an arpeggiated vocoder thrown on to The Weeknd's vocals. All out of stuff is happening at the same time, and it's really cool. The bass line of this, the groove, the bass line is very clean. And the breakdown section of the song, towards the later part of it, it feels like it was something ripped right out of a Justice track or like a Daft Punk live mix or something. It's very satisfying. Honestly, simple stuff, but because the production is so layered and there's so much movement going on, it kind of offers a lot all at once, but it's not too difficult to take in, if that makes sense. It's not complicated. It's just a lot of movement, very layered. Track number 5, Sacrifice. Um, this song, I love the syncopated synth. It kind of tastes like a guitar that plays through the intro, and it plays throughout the track as well. The Weeknd's vocals are very warm on this song, and I'm a big fan of how the production complements his timbre. Most of this album does that well, but this song, and along with others in particular, do that exceptionally well. The background vocals help highlight the interesting tonality of this song. It's very funky, the song itself, brief and punchy, solid melodies. I'm not sure what else I can say. Track number 6, A Tale by Quincy. This is one of those interlude tracks. It plays out like an autobiographical retelling of a man's memories, an old man who's just kind of telling you about what it's been like through his life, his memories that he's had with the women in his life, his own parent, as well as romances that he's had along the way. Interesting perspective that's being shown here, almost like it's a bit of lore building maybe for this trilogy. I like it though; it's cool. Track number 7, Out of Time. This song features romantic and colorful chords. There's a warm rhythm guitar and a slap bass. They're all deliciously woven together to create a very sensual sound. The Weeknd has this song right here to let you know that he means business, and this is where the album slows down for a little bit. The synths that accompany his vocals on the song are clean, very squeaky clean, lovely. There's memorable melodies sprinkled in throughout all of this song, honestly. And the steady drums keep the song moving forward. When I listen to this song, I can envision slow dancing with a loved one under some neon lights. And I have no care in the world. I'm just having the time of my life. And the outro of this song plays much like a radio station transition. And then it sucks us right into track number 8. Here we go again. This is a slow and beautiful intro on this song. Lots of lonely synth chords and The Weeknd belting out some solid vocals, honestly. And then in there, somehow they managed to sneak in a Tyler the Creator verse, which I didn't even look at the track list when I listened to the album on the first listen, so it did catch me off guard. It does feel like his verse helps ground the song a bit. The Weeknd's vocals are so ethereal, and there's all sorts of like angelic energy on the song, and then the transition into Tyler the Creator's verse just kind of grounds everything for a little bit. I would say it's a decent verse. It's nothing crazy. It was okay, nothing crazy. The lack of drums, any sort of percussion on this song, felt a bit natural. I didn't even notice it until like the second or third time I was listening to the album that there were no percussive elements really. But I will admit I was waiting for the beat drop, for some kind of beat to drop at some point in the song. But honestly, another gorgeous slow jam. It's okay. Track number 9, Best Friends. This song features a very thick, Moog-like sounding bass. Airy and eerie synth strings kind of set the scene together with this sound. It's almost like you're watching a movie in slow motion. It's really cool. The vocals are equally spacious, some wet reverb thrown on them in the right places to add some sort of emphasis, a little bit of different colors. And there's also these cool synth stabs that play during the later half of the song. They add some bounce to the mix. Really cool. Overall, I would say that this is a classic, sexy tune. The Weeknd is really not playing when it comes to this album. It's very clear. Track number 10, Is There Someone Else? I'm enamored with the soulful sample that we hear in the intro of this song. I don't know what it's from, but I really love that. This is one of those songs where the Weeknd blends a lot of synth pop with R&B. I'm not sure which one is borrowing from who, but he brings them together here and marries them and creates a really beautiful sound. I really love the counter synth melodies that are playing, and then the color choices for the synths are equally dreamy. I feel like this song tastes like a mint chocolate ice cream, if that makes sense. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Track number 11, Starry Eyes. This feels like an outro to the previous track. Is There Someone Else? But it's almost like the outro became its own song, so it's like a part two of sorts. This song makes you stop in your tracks, and The Weeknd just lets out his trademark angelic balladeer vocals. That energy is very strong in this song. No percussion either. It's just him, uh, coupled with some solemn synth chords. The attack is turned all the way down on the chords, giving you a really subdued energy, letting the Weeknd's vocals take center stage and just kind of captivate the listener. And it all comes together very beautifully. Um, Following this is another interlude track entitled Every Angel is Terrifying. It features a brief monologue from The Weeknd. It's a sexy, synthy, and warm cut. It gives the listener a bit of what I consider a hectic breather of sorts. It feels like there's more lore building for this new trilogy happening on this track. And honestly, I'm not here to speculate on what any of it means. I think that's up for the listener to decide. But it's really interesting. All sorts of elements thrown together, as if The Weeknd is promoting what I assume to be the next album. Maybe, I don't know, but it's very interesting. Track number 14, I Heard You're Married. This song features a heavy, very punchy synth kick, and there's wet vocals from The Weeknd, bringing us back to this synth pop energy that we felt a lot more during the first half of this album. There is a feature from Lil Wayne on this album, completely unexpected to me, but it was a very pleasant surprise. And on the third listen of this album, I didn't even realize that they snuck his lighter flick in there just a couple seconds before he comes in. Really cool. The Weeknd's vocals do shine on here as he sings in the highest octave that I've heard from him yet. Maybe. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. And I'm also a fan of The Weeknd singing the final chorus along with Lil Wayne. Their voices are interestingly, they've got some sort of interesting chemistry going on. It's really subtle. The Weeknd's vocals are obviously turned up a lot more than Lil Wayne's are, but it's snuck in there. You kind of notice it, and it makes a bit of a difference. And then moving on to track number 15, entitled Less Than Zero. I'm a big fan of the melodies and counter melodies on this song. It feels like a song that would play at the end of a romantic comedy, and all the plot threads have been resolved and peacefully, and everything's come together, everything's wrapped up well. The chord progression, the tonality, the production choices, all of them are very nostalgic to me, and I know that this was done on purpose. The Weeknd's vocals are rich and wet on this song, very angelic. And then during the outro, it feels like the credits have rolled, everyone has exited stage left, and the lights have dimmed, and the show is over. And then lastly, we end on track number 16, Phantom Regret by Jim. Jim Carrey's easy reader delivery feels heartfelt, and the monologue is both poetic and thought-provoking. There's interesting rhyme schemes there. Nothing too complex, but very poetic in his delivery. The subtle accompaniments of synth chords, and then the later developments with the saw basses sneaking in there and some middle synths in the middle register, along with The Weeknd's vocalizations towards the end of the song, peacefully bring this hell of an album to a close. So to conclude, while I think that After Hours featured The Weeknd kind of dipping his toes into the world of synthwave, that very unique soundscape, and he had a lot of heavily electronic infused production on the previous album. This album, Dawn FM, feels like a full immersion into that style and the aesthetic. The album I would consider to be well paced. None of the songs feel like they drag on for longer than they should have, to be honest. And the seamless transitions that we hear on this album inevitably and allow the songs to bleed from one to the other, and then that accentuates that smooth listening experience. I mean, it all comes together thematically. It's almost as if I were listening to a DJ set, which no doubt was the goal. I mean, it goes along with the whole theme of a radio show of sorts. Hearing The Weeknd embrace this unapologetically synth pop style feels like a natural progression in his artistry. I feel like his music has always had electronic elements in it, and It just feels like he feels right at home on this album. I know he's having a good time with it. Um, and so in the last video, I mentioned 10 Tricks being one of those minor players on After Hours. He was a very major player in the production of this album, and I would say that he was a great choice for producer and engineer. He worked along with a couple of different producers on this album as well, and so they really did a great job. Uh, they kind of came together to be the glue that was able to make this album work as well as it did. And I'm honestly super excited to hear what The Weeknd has cooking for this third part. No idea what it's going to be. It could be a little bit like a segue into a totally different style. It could not be. But either way, I'm really excited for whatever it is going to be. And yeah, if you've taken the time to listen to this video, I really appreciate it. And if you haven't seen my thoughts on After Hours, I can link that in the description if you'd like to take a look and kind of hear what I have to say about that. And then whenever the third part comes out, I will definitely be posting a review on that. So thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great day.